Yeah, right on Elm.
Hi, welcome to the March 12th regular meeting of the Gorham School Committee. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mia DeSanctis,
Here.
Michelle Littlefield,
Here.
Sarah Perkins,
Here.
Jackie Reynolds,
Here.
Eric Thistle, Jennifer Whitehead,
Here.
and Nicole Yeo Fisher.
Here. Thank you. Moving on to 1.3, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 12th and the workshops of February 26th and March 3rd, 2025. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve of the regular meeting minutes of February 12th and the workshop meeting minutes of February 26th and March 3rd as presented.
Okay. Motion by Michelle. Is there a second? Second by Nicole. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Moving on to 2.0 administrative reports. Are there any questions or comments about the administrative reports?
I actually had one.
Yes, Michelle.
I was reviewing and I was excited to see in the adult ed report, there was a little note about our 85 new enrichment students and that the program has brought in year to date about 70,000. I was just curious if you could speak to, like, in terms of pace year over year, are we doing great? Are we doing as we would? Is that growth? Just, what direction is that going?
I'd say that we're already exceeding last year's, enrichment program total revenues. If we looked at the whole fiscal year last year, the total revenues for enrichment programs were somewhere in the vicinity of $60,000, and so we're already exceeding that. So,
That's awesome.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to, we're going to take an item out of order, actually, and we are going to hear from the Middle School Student Council next.
So Chair wanted you to get up there nice and early.
I'm
Excuse
Grace
me. Yeah,
from.
there you go. Right up to the microphone, because yep.
I'm Grace McHenry from GMS, and I'm in 6th grade.
6th grade.
Maybe. Oh,
Yeah, there's an animation you guys put in there. So creative. There we go.
What students get out of student council? Confidence, learning to help and improve our community, being able to work well with others, life skills that will help in different environments, becoming more involved, improve social skills. The projects we do. Making food drive posters and making holiday cards for in at Village Square residents.
Hi, my name is Max Stonegate, and I'm in 7th grade, and when we make these cards for the people, the residents at the Village Square, we have to really take pride because they really look forward to seeing these cards, and we really want to brighten up their day. We make them for all the special days and holidays. This fall, we attended the Hyde School Leadership Conference in Bath, Maine, with the Gorham High School and other local schools. We learned about what makes a good leader and how we develop great leadership skills, and we also learned how to take charge. We also learned how to become a better and able to work together with those around us.
Hi, I'm Alia Herrick, and I'm in 8th grade. We went to a field trip at the Animal Refuge League. While at the shelter, we helped make food bags for the shelter animals, learned about animal behavior, and most importantly, we visited with the animals. We also sold over 900 bags of locally owned Max popcorn to help raise money for the shelter. Over the years, Student Council has donated over $11,000 to the animal shelter. We now have a brick in our name on the shelter's sidewalk. Reading to K2 students at Village Elementary School. We attend Educated Day at the Sea Dogs, where we practice our leadership and social skills out in the community.
Hi, my name is Shakina Gakunzi, and I'm an 8th grader. Some of the things we've done is Spirit Week. Some of the different themes we've done: Ram Pride Day, Flannel Day, Camo Hunters Day, Hawaiian Day, and Pink Day. And one tradition at Gorham Middle School is Advisory Wars, where the advisories pick a theme to dress up as and they compete. Some upcoming events we have are working with the Linus Foundation to make blankets for the Barbara Bush Hospital. March Mustache Monday on March 24th, working with Miss Ambrose on a new curriculum called Skills to Pay the Bills as a part of the Aspire program, reading to the children at Village School, and the last school dance in May. As you can see, Student Council is a place for students who want to make social connections, help their school and community, and develop great leadership skills. Thank you.
All right, good evening, guys. They won't say it, so I'll say it for them. You're probably looking at that presentation, and you're thinking those are all of the things that Gorham Middle School does. And you're right. If you see something really spectacular happen at Gorham Middle School, there's a very good chance our student council is somehow behind it. I like to kind of think of them as, I don't know if any of you guys are sports fans, but as offensive linemen, because they do all of the things without looking for the glory. And if we did not have a strong offensive line or strong student council, then we would not be as great as we currently are. Also, side note, we were supposed to be presenting on outdoor education tonight. Some things changed. So my thought was, what is the most reliable group that we have that I know can put something together really, really great in a very short amount of time? And immediately with student council, and then you saw what they did tonight. So like I said, these guys are the heartbeat of our school, and we just appreciate everything that they do, and they really keep the fun going at GMS. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Hang on, there's questions probably, so don't go anywhere.
Yep.
Any questions or comments from the school committee? Nicole?
Great job. I know, again, I always like to say this, it's not easy to get up here and have all of these folks, even though some of them are your family, staring at you and watching yourself on the screen, so great job. Also, thank you to Mrs. Pastore, who I know runs the Student Council. What a great job you all have done, and even witnessing some of the work that I've seen now that I have a 6th grader, it's really awesome. So great job to everybody involved.
Jen?
Yeah, just a comment. Thank you so much for being so awesome and making such a positive impact, not only in your school, but out in the community. Thank you so much.
Jackie, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, being able to pivot and put something together very quickly, as was stated that you did, is like a super important life skill that's going to serve all of you very well moving forward. And I appreciate it. And I also was just curious about how an incoming 6th grader might get involved in student council. How does that process work? Good question.
They could have friends that want to join because they have older siblings, and it's a very good thing to join because you get involved in your school, and it's just very helpful with all the skills that you need for high school and further on in your life.
Thank you.
Superintendent Perry.
I had a couple questions. Yeah, first of all, I've walked by some of your meetings, and this doesn't seem to be the whole group. So I'm wondering, how many members are there of the student council?
You got it.
Hi, I'm Donna Pastori, and I've actually been the student council advisor for 20 years. So this year is my biggest group. I started out with 70 in September, and I still have 45 to 50 coming every week. So this is our biggest year. It is open to anybody. Anybody can join, and even if they have sports, they just let me know they're going to be at a sport instead, and they can come to the next meeting. They can join in April if they want. So again, it's open to everybody, and it's at the end of the day. It's they can just get the late bus home, and it runs 2 days a month, and then they just as Alia said, what happens is they bring a friend, and they bring a friend, and they bring a friend, and that's what's happened this year. Is they've had so many friends that it's just gotten bigger and bigger, which is wonderful. So.
Yeah. And I just wanted to give one more set of kudos. You mentioned it earlier about the $11,000 contribution to the animal shelter, and I saw that come up earlier in the year as students, and I hope you're very proud of that. I mean, that's just a demonstration of the cumulative effect of your work over time, and that's just amazing that that amount of money has been donated from middle school.
It's a lot, and the supplies as well. If you could see, we bring like 10 to 18 bags with us of supplies that the kids have collected, blankets, food, toys when we go as well. So, yeah, works very well.
All right, any other questions or comments? No? Well, we're only allowed to clap when it's students, so thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for having us.
So you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but don't feel like you have to. I know you probably have homework and all of that, so thank you so much for being here. And we will come back to 2.2 program review, presentation on the new pre-K to 12 alternative education vision. Superintendent Perry?
Yes, so got an assistant coming up and going to do the presentation part of this, but I'll give a little introduction. Thank you, Christina. So this is a culmination of work that's been ongoing for about a year with staff members from across all of our schools in the district, trying to put together a meaningful document that really outlines all in one place what our beliefs are around our alternative education programs in the district. We do have alternative ed programs at every school in our district at this point, now that the high school has their program back. And each one of them has a different focus and a slightly different flavor, and operates a little bit differently for really significant purposes. And so what we wanted to do is create a report that really just shows our vision for how each one of the programs sort of builds onto each other, culminates with all the great work that's being done at the high school, and ensures that our students walk across our stage at graduation with all the choices that they want for their success. So anyway, that's kind of the purpose behind this. You've got the full report in there. Christina's going to give you an overview, not everything, just the highlights of the presentation. But please feel free to read the full report and ask questions later on as well. So Christina, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Great, awesome. Thank you guys. Nice to see you guys again. I'm assistant principal at the high school, Christina Schfelli. It's hard to follow up with that. And I do have to make a comment. I think Mr. Witham is following the March mustache month. I just asked him, so he's doing pretty well with that. So as Superintendent Perry said, the work that we started was about 1.5 years ago, and it crosses all of our schools, that we got a bunch of different stakeholders involved in looking at creating this document. And really we were looking at creating a comprehensive look at alternative ed in the district, as she shared. We wanted to develop more of a vertical alignment in our programs and our programming, and really learn from each other what our different programs and programming looked like as well. And it was really a neat experience, especially when we were at a place at the high school where we didn't have an alternative ed program. We were in hopes of creating a new program, and so it really helped to support us in our vision at the high school as well in that process. And so this document was created to look at that, but to also for others to refer to when they wanted to learn more about what the programs looked like across the district. And so these are all the different stakeholders that were involved and maintained involved throughout the 1.5 years. So essentially within the document you'll find our focus is looking at our philosophy, and we really our philosophy is that all of our students learn in many different ways, and we know that already. But within the alternative ed program, we know that we differentiate throughout our district in many different ways, but we needed to differentiate, and we do differentiate differently for these learners, and alternative ed is one additional tool to that. Ideally, we want to look for students to be a part of this program who should be shining within school, but that light might not be as bright as we want it to be. And so there may be reasons that for that, including maybe they need to be in smaller class sizes, maybe relevance to the programming that we have at that time isn't there, and that connection, and that perhaps there is already a deficit in their grades and credit, and how can we support them a little bit more with that. We also looked a lot in the document. You'll see we identified a profile of an alternative ed learner. And again, we asked that question, who should be shining more in the classroom, but isn't consistently. And so our program or programming helps to support students who need more of that. You might ask, what is the difference between program and programming? And so in the elementary schools, we have more programming where we pull out students. And so it's more individualized strategies and supports and interventions that we provide to those students. And then program-wise at the middle school, Heather Whitaker has a more structured, formalized pathway. And at the high school, we modeled that and did the same thing. We felt that there were 3 core elements that were important to all of our alternative ed learners. And so strong SEL supports was one component of that, to help them develop skills to manage their emotions and to create more healthy relationships. In addition, strong and positive climate and culture for student learning. We saw they all intertwined, and that relationships were foundational for these students, and that helped them to foster more empowerment and more growth in their learning. And then thirdly, targeted and meaningful curriculum was incredibly important in instruction for these students. So we see across all grade levels more hands-on learning and supports the idea of solving real-world problems. You saw that in our presentation a couple weeks ago with the high school. The community and project-based learning, and then the alignment, the curriculum that we have does align throughout the district with our graduation standards. So the pre-K to 5 is again the programming, so it's the pull-out model, and then the middle school is called the Katahdin program. I'm sure you've heard a lot and met with Heather Whitaker and met with those students and how wonderful and all the work that she does with them. And then at the high school, you learned the LINKS program and what LINKS means and how our students created that and how important that sort of idea of linking arms together to support the students. So they created that idea of the LINKS program. So those are the names, but also the structure at each grade level, what that looks like. And further into the document, and I'm not going to get into detail on this, but it's for folks who don't know a lot about our programming, you can go ahead and dive a little bit deeper to learn about more specifics. And so how do we assess outcomes for our students? How do they get awarded grades is all identified at all the different grade levels in there. How the students enter the programs, the application process, and then what sort of transition strategies look like for those students as they move from one program into the next. And that's a really important key, I think, piece that we're continuing to look at. And at the high school, now that we have the program, the 8th graders transitioning to the high school is foundational, that there's a smooth transition for those students. And we are currently in that place of getting ready to start the application process for them. So all of those are detailed within that document if you have any specific questions about that. And that leads me to, do you have any questions?
Any questions or comments from the school committee? Michelle?
I was wondering if you could just take a moment to talk a little bit more about that transition to 11th grade. I know it came up as a topic in our budget conversations, just around, some decisions that could impact the 11th and 12th grade. So a little more detail, I think, would just be really helpful.
Yeah, so we are still developing the transition for our students into 11th and 12th grade, and we spoke about this a little bit when we came as a high school to talk about it. We want our students 1 foot in the classroom and 1 foot into the real world. So the idea is for 11th graders to either have an ELO experience, to be in a CTE program, to be in some sort of internship or job is one component, but our students are still going to be in school. And so we do have some ideas of how we can continue to have them a part of the program. One big gap in that for us is the math component. It is very specialized, teaching math. And so although our alternative ed teachers currently are certified in a way that they can support students in all subject areas, math is very specialized. So to have somebody with a skill set to be able to support them in that and to know how to support students that are alternative ed learners is also very important. At this time, we lack the ability to have a teacher specific to supporting those students. It is a gap that we definitely is an area of need for us. So we are going to, Eric Klein is going to be able to, we think we can fit in the schedule, him to be able to continue to support in a humanities way, the English and social studies, the science, we can also continue to support, but the math is really a gap for us. And I think it's an important need as they're getting ready to transition to make sure that we are giving them all of those supports, especially in those core areas. So that's definitely one that as we developed the program, sometimes you don't know until you're in it, that we realized that that was a place of need for us.
Gotcha. And one follow-up, if I could. The CTE and the ELO placements, are all students able to be placed, or do we ever run into a time where these students wouldn't find a placement out in that environment, in one of those options?
Sure.
Or
so we have control of some things. We do not have control of the CTE programming. And so the beauty in ELO for us is when we developed the ELO programming, we knew that was an area for all of our students that we wanted to make sure if they had a desire to be more hands-on in their learning, that we could help to support them with that. So the answer is yes, but with CTE, we don't have control over because it's not within our realm of deciding whether students are placed into that program or not. I can tell you some students have so far been placed into CTE programming, but Eliza and Michelle are both working with our students to make sure that, and the ones that are not, that have a plan for next year. So that is currently happening for second semester. The goal is that at the end of this year, they all have that piece in place so that as we transition into next year, that's smooth, that the schedule is already set for them. And we don't have seniors in the program right now, so that's not an area where we have to step in yet, but it's obviously going to be a continuation with that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jackie, did you have a question?
No, my question was also going to be about the post-10th grade transition.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Nope. Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate you joining us.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 3.0 communications. Is there any member of the public wishing to make public comment?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Hang on, I gotta get my. 1 second, sorry, I just have to read my little
I
paragraph.
hate to delay the meeting for you for just a couple of seconds. I just wanted to note that I had the privilege of attending the Anti-Racism Committee's third annual. I suspect that Ms. Yu Fisher will be talking about this. However, her leadership for that event, the third annual community event, was outstanding. We spent time really talking with neighbors and community
community members that we might not know. There were many students there who were offering their opinions and their perspectives. I met some new folks who have younger kiddos that I wouldn't have normally, and it was really great conversation. Excellent facilitation. Nicole was facilitating one, Jenny Rutherford, and we had former student, both former students. They were just outstanding, and we should be very, very proud that Gorham continues to do this very important work. So thank you for your commitment to that.
Thank you. Did I see another member of the public? Okay.
Hello, my name is John Ursek, and I'm here as a reporter for the Gorham Times. As probably all of you are aware, there have been recent statements from the new administration in Washington, basically demands that all local school districts drop their efforts to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. And without going into any further details, I think you're aware of the situation that's been covered very extensively in the news media. I'm just wondering if anyone up there would like to make any comment on that issue at this time.
So typically, public comment is not something that we respond directly to at the time, but if you want to wait at the end of the meeting, Superintendent Perry and myself would be happy to speak with you. Thank you. Is there any other member of the public wishing to make public comment? My goodness. Wow.
I just miss you all. Hi. So my name is Nikki Hudson. I'm a resident here in Gorham and have 2 kids attending elementary school in town. So first of all, thank you guys for all of your work. I know you're starting budget season, or actually not starting, you're just in the thick of it. And it is thankless and tireless, so thank you for all of the hard work and extra meetings you're going to. We really appreciate it as you prepare our students for the upcoming school year. I'm here tonight to express my support for Gorham's adherence to the Maine Human Rights Act, which continues to include gender identity as a protected class. This issue has ignited lots of conversations and debate across the state and here in town. And I've heard from some folks that this isn't about trans rights, it's about keeping girls safe and protecting girls' sports. But those are some of the same arguments that were used for the racial segregation of schools. These arguments are designed to create fear and uncertainty, with the target landing on some of our most marginalized children. Protecting our girls sounds admirable, but feels performative when we're only willing to protect our girls from an imaginary threat, but not the real challenges they face every day. 33% of girls in Cumberland County report having offensive comments directed towards them at school. Those are recorded in the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey for Cumberland County. So where is the outrage and mobilization to create safe environments free of sexual harassment for some of our students? Our kids are watching the adults in their lives right now, and will take those lessons with them. We have an opportunity to continue to communicate acceptance, compassion, and inclusivity. So let those be the lessons our kids learn.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public wishing to make public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move along to 3.2, Student School Committee members. Lola.
Our Gorham One Acts, a part of our theater program, placed first at regionals and are now heading to Camden Hills for states.
Yay!
That's students, right?
Starting to sign up for classes in the following week. The sophomore class will be hosting Gorham's Got Talent this Friday at 7 p.m. in the MPAC. We held our Winter Sports Awards night earlier this evening, and we are so proud of the accomplishments of all of our Gorham teams. Spring sports are starting up in the following weeks. We had teachers versus seniors basketball game. The seniors won 50-49. Proceeds of that will go to Camp Sunshine. Spring conferences start Thursday night and go to Friday, and students will have Friday off from school. And finally, our junior class is hosting the spring fling on March 28th for all GHS students.
50-49, that was a close game. Any questions? Nope, seeing none, thank you very much. And moving on, 3.3, Superintendent Report.
Yes, thank you. So just so you know, that was a really great report on, I actually saw pictures of some teachers signing autographs during the game. That was interesting. Very good. And that list is very busy. So if you see, I mean, what you just described, there was a lot of the high school related things, but our elementary and middle schools are equally as busy with lots of things happening. So thank you for giving that summary. My report is not as interesting, but just wanted to share a few things that's happening around the state, the country, and just so that you're aware and maintain some information around that. First thing I wanted to share is that I know that there has been some concern expressed around recent Title IX investigations and what's going on. I will tell you that at this point, what I do know is that the money's still flowing. There is still IDEA funds coming, and there's still funding for ESEA that's flowing from the federal government to the states. So above and beyond that, there's a lot of things being worked out at the state and federal level that we'll just have to take a wait-and-see approach on that particular piece. But we are still moving forward in those areas. I wanted to put a bill on your map to kind of follow, if you would, please. It's LD 34. It's an act to increase minimum teacher salary across the state. That bill is something that's going to be moving its way through the legislature. It's looking at trying to raise the minimum teacher salary from where it is currently at $40,000 to a minimum salary across the state at $52,500 by 2030. So there is some timeline ahead of that. I will share that the Maine School Superintendents Association actually supports the bill, understanding that one of the things that we need to do is increase the pay for and helping with our pipeline issues that we're having with hiring of teachers. But, there are some, consequences that are associated with that. Now, I will tell you that I've already done the calculations for Gorham. We're fine. We'll be at that baseline by then. The question mark becomes where is everybody else and where are we in relation to them at that point in time. But it is a bill that will have impacts across the state, so I just wanted to put it on your radar. Finally, I do want to make sure that folks knew that the State of Maine construction staff visited Gorham High School as well as Narragansett and Village Elementary Schools last week as part of the application rating process for the capital construction application process. The DOE has 96 projects that they're going through and having to do complete site visits on. So can you imagine them going across the state and visiting 96 different schools and doing that? It's a very full process, very thorough. But anyway, so they're about halfway through that process. I was talking with Scott Brown, who's the head of the construction projects over at the state, and he thought that probably it would be mid-July before we heard at the earliest about how sort of we rank in the scheme of all those applications. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that timeline process. All of you know that we're well underway, as Nikki mentioned, in budget development processes. So we have a meeting coming up on March 17th, another one on the 24th, and another one on the 31st around budget. So it's like every Monday, I think it is, from now and through April. So those meetings are at 7 o'clock. They're right upstairs in the conference room, and they're open to the public to attend. So I would encourage folks to follow. They're also recorded and live streamed. So, and those are posted on our website once I get the link from Georgia. And then finally, I just wanted to let folks know that although I had reported we were going to add 26 pre-K slots, then I reported that one of the child care centers had to drop out. Now there's another child care center that's stepping in. So it does look like we're going to be able to get the 26 additional pre-K slots for next year. So just wanted to give that good news. And that's it for my report tonight.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to school committee communications. Start with Jen.
Yeah, first, I want to thank the Gorham High School Bee Club for giving us this lip balm that they make. They're so generous. They already came to visit us and had a great presentation, and this was just a really nice surprise, so thank you to them. And second, I just want to reinforce what Superintendent Perry said, that we are really in budget season, so I recommend people really follow along, get involved now, start thinking about how you're going to encourage your neighbors and friends to get out and vote already. It's not too early to start thinking about this. We need your support. Thanks.
Mia?
I'm going to piggyback a little bit on the budget discussion and just do a shout out to the DLT, who has done a tremendous amount of work. That's the district leadership team, doing a lot of work, difficult decisions to bring forward to us. I know how hard it is for us to make some of those decisions, but the DLT had to make a lot of tough choices first, so thank you to them.
Eric?
I'm going to pass, thank you.
Michelle.
I just had a couple quick things. I wanted to make a plug for the GMS Partners in Education meeting, which is coming up on March 18th. It sounds like it's going to be an interesting one. As a mom of 2 middle schoolers, it's Parent University, so talking about like all things middle school and plans for the future. So it sounds very exciting. Hope to see a lot of people there. And then I probably should have mentioned this when we had student council here, but I just wanted to note that I had the absolute privilege with Nicole of chaperoning the middle school dance last Friday. And I just wanted to say, I was incredibly pleasantly surprised by how kind and polite those kids were. And I just want to say congrats to those kids, but congrats parents. Like, I know we hear feedback a lot about middle school's real rough. I know it, but they were just really great. And I think we're doing a great job. So good job, Gorham parents.
Jackie.
I do have a little more to share than last time. I have yet to attend a Partners in Education meeting, but I'm going to 2 in the upcoming weeks, so I look forward to reporting out about those. The budget process, as you know, well underway. For me, it's been super informative as a new community member. I've really appreciated the leadership team and the fact that no question is a bad question, and we have peppered them with many, many questions so far, and there's going to be a lot more, but we have received really, really quick and detailed answers to all of our questions, which is not easy, but it's really appreciated. I encourage any community member that's thinking about going or watching one of those meetings, you should, and if you have your own questions, that would be great too. And one thing about it that's heavily on my mind, again, as a new community member, I've gone on a few tours of the schools and seen some of our newer facilities and some of our older facilities, and then we've also got some very, very old facilities. So, you know, there's going to be capital projects that we will need to find a way to fund. There's no guarantee of us getting the state funding. It'd be wonderful, but it is heavily on my mind for health and safety reasons of our students. We just have some really old buildings, and everybody should just be thinking about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Nicole.
I would like to kind of just shout out the Adopt a Classroom program that we have. I know it usually occurs on half days like today, which is just really cool to me. I know even the middle schoolers talked about going to Village and reading to those classrooms, but just the integration between our high school students, our middle school students, and our elementary students, that they really sort of get that experience, I think is a really neat thing that we have in our community. I'll echo what Michelle said around our middle school experience, and yes, definitely blown away at just really how wonderful they all were and very polite. So I think it speaks to parents. I think it speaks to our school teachers and administrators and staff that we have as well too.
Thank you. I have nothing to add. So we'll move along to school committee standing and special committees, finance and facilities. Michelle?
Yeah, so in our last meeting, we spent the bulk of our time kind of reviewing the draft 10-year capital plan. So for folks that kind of maybe don't know that process, we have a long running list, and items go for bond. They either get voted and approved or not, and then we have to adjust that list. So it's a process. So that was the primary focus, and we'll have more updates to come on that as it evolves. Nothing ready really to report on the actual list yet. And then beyond that, we reviewed our usual financial statements, the substitute coverage report, warrants, and credit card review. So our next meeting will be March 26th at 6 p.m. in central office.
Any questions for Michelle? Seeing none, we'll move along to policy. Mia?
Thank you. So we met at Great Falls School, had a pretty packed agenda. We didn't get through all of it, but what we did end up focusing a lot on, which I will mention a little bit later in the meeting, is our Title IX policies, AC, ACAA, ACAB. And again, I'll talk about those a little bit as they'll be up for first read. But we focused a lot on some of the changes going to take place there. And another policy that we discussed was the drug and alcohol testing of bus drivers. We worked a little bit on the canine patrol and searches, which is JIHD. And we found that it's an older policy. We had a lot of procedures that were mixed in with the policy itself. So I know Dr. Donahue's working on separating those two out, and we'll be working on it some more at our next meeting on the 26th of March.
Any questions for Mia? No? Okay. Seeing none. Personnel, Michelle?
Yes, so personnel met actually just yesterday, and our focus, as you all know, has been the communications plan, which we'll be talking about later in the agenda. So that will come later. Our next meeting is actually on the books for Wednesday, April 9th at 6 p.m. also in central office.
Okay. Any questions for Michelle? No? All right. Vocational education, Jen?
Yep, we have not met since the last meeting, but our next meeting is tomorrow morning at 8:30 at PATH.
Okay. Moving on to our ad hoc committees, Gorham Teaching and Learning, Eric?
Teaching and Learning Committee met on Monday of this week. The next meeting is not scheduled yet. At this last meeting, we had a really interactive discussion about the vision of a graduate. So we spent the last couple meetings talking about Gorham's vision of a graduate and kind of what that entails, and then comparing it to other districts across the whole country. We had a really good collection of examples, some with a lot of the same information. The communication style and some of the other examples, some are better, some are worse. We're looking to modify Gorham's to keep up with the changes in the way that we deliver the message, and it's going to be very positive as we continue to collect different examples.
Any questions for Eric? Seeing none. Anti-Racism and Equity Committee, Nicole?
We had a meeting, our last official meeting was February 27th, where we really kind of focused in on a couple of different things. Each of our subcommittees that we have worked on some mission statements and visions, and then particularly our community events group spent time planning for Eat and Learn that Kelly did recognize in public comment, which was on Monday. It was wonderful. I also want to thank all of our community members, our families, our students that came together for that event. It was really great. I think each year that we've done this, it's really great to see some new faces. It's really great to have a different topic area that we like to discuss. So this year's topic was empathy, and it was really focusing on what we heard in the student voice survey. So during the event, we had 3 rotating sessions, one that focused on preventing bullying behavior, one on active empathetic listening, and then the final activity was a kindness activity to which folks were able to kind of come up with a kindness activity that they could pick at random at the end of the event and kind of take with them for the rest of the week to try to do. And really even a small thing like holding a door for someone can be a really huge, thing for them in regards to kindness. So I think one of the key takeaways was each of those sessions were 10 minutes. I think we could have gone way longer than 10 minutes, and that was some of the feedback that they really wanted to continue talking about these things. So really some great food for thought as we get together again and kind of talk about maybe how we want to carry this on and maybe have other additional events. Our next meeting for the end of March is canceled due to the Eat and Learn, but our official next meeting will be April 17th at 5:30 at the high school library.
Any questions for Nicole? All right. Dropout Committee, Mia?
We have not met since our last meeting.
All right. Fiscal Sustainability Committee, Michelle?
Yes, so the Fiscal Sustainability Committee met on Monday. It's been a busy week, and we've been a very busy group, so this was our second to last meeting. We spent time reviewing a pretty thorough report that had been drafted, and we worked to finalize our lengthy list, really, of recommendations that we'll be putting forward, as well as next steps for how to kind of make sure that those recommendations move forward in the future. And we are still in a place where we're finalizing our key performance indicators that will come forward. So all of that is being wrapped up between now and our final meeting, which will be on April 14th at 6 p.m. here in the downstairs conference room. So I encourage anyone that's interested to attend. And if I can just add one additional thing, I would like to shout out to the Fiscal Sustainability Committee members. We've had phenomenal community members on this committee, incredible participation, and being in the seat of being on the committee and on that committee, the things that we're discussing in that room have applied to our decisions that we're making in the budget process, and things that have been happening kind of all along the way. I think it's been a fantastic show of collaboration, and it has actually done what we set out for it to do, which is like bridge the town with the school. So it's just been wonderful to see, and I think thank you to everybody that's participated on the committee. It's been really well worth the time and effort.
Thank you. Any questions for Michelle? All right. Moving on to 5.1, second reading of return to work and reasonable accommodations policy. Mia.
Yes, so we brought this forward for first reading at the last meeting. I did not receive any feedback, so I think that we are good to go for approval.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the return to work and reasonable accommodations policy?
I make a motion to approve the return to work and reasonable accommodations policy as presented for second and final reading.
All right, motion by Jen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mia. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, moving on to new business. Consideration and action on proposed 2025-2026 school calendar. Superintendent Perry?
Yes, we've done at least one workshop on this. We've had a couple of different conversations around the draft school calendar. We did make some adjustments that were suggested at our last workshop meeting, and those are reflected in the calendar that you click on in your folder, and it's also in the public folder if folks are home or following along. So what you see here is we did adjust to make the Friday, August 29th a school day. And so that will allow us to bring kindergarten students in a little bit earlier and have them start on September 3rd. And then we also adjusted that the December date for the 22nd, that was going to be that was going to be a student day. It is now a non-student day. And so that adjustment was also made. And with all those things, when you calculate in the possible 5 snow days, that would bring us to June 18th as the last day of school. We also did shift up those holidays into the bottom of each of the boxes of calendars, as was requested by the school committee. So the changes that were discussed were made, and I'm hoping that this is where it should be, so we can have a motion to approve. I would recommend.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve of the 2025-26 school calendar as presented.
Motion by Michelle. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nicole. Discussion. Michelle.
I just want to make a comment because I feel like this is important to kind of speak to my vote on, I guess. We did have, I feel, very robust discussion about this calendar. The calendar, specifically half days, it's something that I know I've heard a lot about as a committee member and as a parent. There's just been a lot of conversation. Ultimately, I just want to make sure it's clear in terms of my perspective. I think our teachers' professional development is incredibly important. I think the ask of trying to look at this different ways and trying to come up with other solutions, especially around the half-day early releases, was not in any way to devalue that time that our teachers very much deserve. To have the best teachers, they need to be constantly learning. So I just really appreciate the conversation we had around this and the attempt to try to look at it differently, to try to rework things. Ultimately, I'm happy with the effort that we put into that and happy with where it landed. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the 2025-26 school calendar as presented? 7-0. Next up, review and discussion of communications plan and 2025 communication schedule. Michelle?
Okay, sorry, I'm talking a lot tonight, everybody. So the Personnel Committee has been working really hard on this communication plan, what we're bringing forward. So we've routed this document already to the committee members for initial review and feedback. And so what we're asking kind of for tonight is really just the sign off and approval that we all agree with kind of what's in this communication plan so that we can move forward and communicate. So just to kind of briefly give an overview, this document that we created is intended to be a guide so that what we start here is manageable forward when people change in terms of membership. So we've established some guidelines. I'll come back to some of the objectives in there kind of at the end, but the guidelines just around the way that we intend to communicate, kind of just some guideposts around the objectives here to be transparent, timely, all of those sorts of things. We've defined our target audience so that we can be clear that we're communicating beyond just our immediate, parents and guardians and students. It's to the whole community. We've tried to identify appropriate methods of, messaging channels and delivery methods of our communication, just to give those guidelines. And then also a process for how we would make sure our communications are approved and then distributed. So trying to really be thoughtful about how we coordinate this and make it attainable, but also impactful communication. So that was the goal here. So going back to kind of the initial objectives, which you would see listed under the communication guidelines, we identified 3. I think these were the areas that we were most interested in feedback on. What we've done is a little bit different than I think what we've done for the committee in the past, which is we've set some tangible metrics and targets that we're trying to achieve with this effort. So we've established that we're aiming to increase community engagement, and we've set a target of an increase of 20% attendance at meetings. So seeing more community participation here when we're having these conversations. And then the other 2 metrics that you see listed, enhancing public understanding of budgetary and policy decisions, and then improving accessibility of information. What we're looking to do there is move the needle on our community members, telling us that they understand the budget process better and that they know where to find information. So trying to just reinforce that, informing the public about where to go for this information. We felt those targets of trying to increase that by 50% would be attainable by the end of this year. That does require us at some point to do a little survey to make sure that we can capture that data. But once we have a sign off on this plan, we'll come up with a plan at the personnel committee level for executing that survey. So with this, we would, our plan would be to have our first draft communication tentatively ready for you around the April 9th timeframe. We chose not to establish a full calendar right now for approval, just in the event that anything changed in this plan. So once we have kind of the thumbs up today, what will come back will be that kind of finalized calendar, as well as the first communication that we'd like to send out. So happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments?
Incredible amount of work, so thank you to that committee.
Thank you to Michelle. She did a lot.
I showed up at the end.
All right. Well, yes, I will just echo, this is the vast majority of our goals for this year, and really such an important topic, so I really appreciate the Personnel and Communications Committee taking this on. So I'm seeing in the agenda that we're not taking official action, we're just sort of giving a, yes, go forth and do the things. Are we? All
Yes,
right.
that's the hope.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I'm getting some head nods and such, so please, we look forward to seeing the next steps.
Thanks for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. First reading of the following policies: non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and affirmative action policy, AC; harassment of students policy, ACAA; harassment of employees, ACAB; and drug and alcohol testing of bus drivers policy, EEAEAA.
You can't make that stuff up, right?
No. Okay.
So these might look familiar to you because we did do some revisions to them at the end of 2024. And based on the direction from the new presidential administration, we do need to revert back to what was in place in 2020. What you see is we did receive recommendations from Drummond Woodsum, and with some slight changes to those policies is what we're recommending we put in place, basically what Drummond Woodsum has requesting. Particularly around the 3, it is the non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and affirmative action, harassment of students policy, and harassment of employees. If you could review those, and just if you have any questions or comments, just reach out to Quentin or I before the next meeting. For the drug and alcohol testing of bus drivers policy, that was a Really simple add. What we added to the policy, which we realized was missing, was non-CDL drivers. So we've just added that component to that policy. Really no other changes to that. But again, if you could just read that and let me know if you have any questions or feedback.
Jen?
Just a comment, and Mia said it, but I just want to reinforce it, that our policy isn't really changing except for taking out referring to the federal law. We're still referring to the main law, so nothing changes in our policy. Just want to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
That was
Early
sweet.
night.